Layer stacking order is a big deal when it comes to Photoshop because it lets us determine what part of the image that we're going to see and what part of the image that we might hide with another layer. So take a look at the image for lesson 3. Go ahead and open that up. When you do, you're going to notice that there's 4 layers, inside of the layers palette. All right, take a look. There's all 4 of them right here. So each layer has its own object. If I click on the top layer, layer 3, I take my move tool. You'll see if I move around, right now all I'm doing is moving around what was on the top layer, which is this text and these little objects here. Okay, and we'll show you how to create these type layers if you look in the type layer video. If I click on another layer, like the middle one right here, layer 2, remember by clicking on it, I am selecting the layer or targeting it for an adjustment, some type of an adjustment, whatever it is, even if it's just moving it. But the same thing, I can click and I can drag and move that around with the move tool and it just moves that layer. See the one below here is that big circle, and then we have our background. Okay. Also, if you like the little bevel and emboss or the glow around here, make sure you check out the video on layer styles. I'll show you how you can create those types of effects. But back to this image here, we're talking about stacking order. Well, what's important is that you can click on a layer and drag it. Just click and drag, and I can drag it downward, and it moves that layer in the stacking order. Think of these layers as almost kind of like a sandwich. It's from top to bottom. This is the top, and this is the bottom. All right, you're looking at it from top to bottom. So what's on the top? Well, this circle is. What does it cover? It covers that text, which is why we don't see the text. If I click on the text layer and drag it back up, you'll see it was still always there. It was just hidden by another object. If I click on this circle layer here and I drag the big one all the way to the top, it's going to hide everything. Because what's on top of the sandwich, what's on top of the layer stack, it's this big object, and it's now covering everything else inside of the layers palette. So it's important to just remember 2 things. One, whatever layer you click on is the one that you targeted for an adjustment or movement, and the other one is whatever layer is on top is what's going to be visible on top. Right now it's the text. So now let's start to bring some images inside of here and change the stacking order a little bit. I'll open up lesson 3B, C, and D. And you can see here we've got 3 different images. I'm just going to take my move tool here. Remember, we can click in the middle of an image and drag it. And don't let go yet. Just drag it over the tab. Bring it over the image. Don't let go of it on the tab either. Bring it into the image. And then just drop it. Just let go. Notice it put it on the top of the layer stack. Look at my layers palette. It now covers everything. No matter where I put it, it's going to be above everything. Okay? It's smaller, which is why it doesn't cover everything, but it's still, anything I put it over, it's going to block. Well, if I want to, I can move it down a level, and now it's under the text, but what I really want it to be is underneath this circle right here. So I'm going to bring it down one more level. And now I can transform this layer individual of the other layers by going up to the edit menu, go down to transform, and go over here to rotate. Now I can move this around a little bit, and notice that I'm not affecting any other layer but the layer that I've clicked on in the layers palette. And I'll hit enter or return when I'm done. So now let's go over here to lesson C, and before I do that, I just want you to look at something here. Look at what layer I have targeted inside the layers palette. It's layer 4 with the flower. Okay, kind of just make a mental note of that. Let's go to lesson 3C, and I can select and copy. There's lots of different ways. Really, the way that I do it the most is just click and drag with the move tool, hover over for a second, and then bring it into the image. And let's put these guys right into the middle. Notice what happened. Notice how it showed up on the right level. Notice how I didn't have to bring it down below, and that's because it put it, remember what layer was selected? This one was. When I brought in a new image, Photoshop automatically plopped it right on top of that layer. So it automatically put it on top of the flower layer without me having to drag it. Now if I wanted to drag it, I can click in here and drag it as well. But let's go ahead and leave it on top of that one. Same thing as before, transform, rotate, and move these guys around a little bit. Hit enter or return. Last one here, lesson 3D. Bring it into your image, drop it in, and now this one comes in really, really big, and that's going to happen to you a lot because you're going to be working with different size photos or different size images, and it's not a problem. All you've got to do is come up here to edit, transform, and go down to scale. And then I'll hold down the shift key here and click on a corner point. Just hold down shift, click on a corner point, and now I can scale this image without affecting the rest of the document because I'm just scaling the layer that I'm working on. I'm not scaling everything inside of the image here. And let's bring it up here. And then if I go into edit, transform, rotate, I can rotate that one around a little bit. Bring it down toward the bottom some. And I'll probably go back under scale for a second here and just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, hit enter or return, and now we've brought this one in as well. Notice it's on top of the people because look at our stacking order. If I kind of moved it over here, look at our stacking order in the layers palette. It is above the people photo that's right below. If I wanted to change this, I just click on it and drag it below the photo of the couple, and now you can see it shows up behind them. All right, so the stacking order stuff gets pretty important, especially as you're trying to get in here and fine-tune your images, because it affects what we're going to see inside that final document, because whatever's on top is going to be what's most visible. And there's one more thing just to leave you with here. What happens to all this work and all these layers? Because we haven't really talked about saving yet. Well, what you've got to do, if you want to save your layers, go up to the File menu, go down to Save, okay? And what I'm going to do is just go to Save As because I want to open up the dialog box. If I hit Save, it's going to just save my image. So I'll hit Save As, but most of the time you can just hit Save. And notice it opens up the Save dialog box. Under Format, just make sure you choose Format Photoshop. Okay, what Photoshop format is it's a PSD document. PSD means that there's layers inside of it and you're saving those layers. There's even a checkbox over here that lets you know that you're saving those layers. If I change format over to JPEG, you're going to see that layers checkbox goes away, which means I can't save layers. So whenever you do want to save your layers so you can come back to it, just hit File, Save it as a PSD document. Okay, and I'm going to actually click Replace because I've already got one. And then what I'll do is I'll show you, I'll close this document. I'll go back up here to File, Open Recent. I'll open it back up, and you'll see it saved everything. It's remembered where all my layers were, and it remembered that there were layers inside of this document. So everything can now be manipulated again because I've saved all of it.